This is the drive home with TT for the Mill drive home. Driving home from work. But it's a Neil Harris drive home special, I suppose. Funny enough, I just read on Twitter, he hasn't died. No, he hasn't died. And but I think it's good. I think it's good to talk about it. I think it's good to show the man respect. And I think it's also good to look forward to the future, because the future is undoubtedly brighter now than it was when Neil Harris first took over. And I'm not just talking about the players on the pitch, because I think we've got a lot stronger of a squad than we did when he first took over. But you just have to look at the attendances. When Neil Harris took over, although we were struggling in the Championship, which you could say we have done for the last 2 seasons, our average attendance was about 10,000. It's now around 13,500. Obviously, that's not only down to him, but we had bigger attendances have been on the rise, and it's because, more than anything, Neil Harris has turned the den into the den. Most people would have known that whenever Mill have been successful, our home record and our home form has determined what we do. And no, that's the biggest thing I can say about Neil Harris's tenure, is that we've lost so few home games under him. And I think, obviously it's been bandied around, but I do think that now is the right time to step away from it and let the club flourish and let the club try and build without him. Personally, it's going to be difficult. I've got a lot of time for Neil. I've got a lot of time for I know members of his family, which, I've not really talked about, because it's no one's really business, to be honest. So it's going to be difficult on a personal level, but I think it's important that, I do genuinely think it's the right time, and more than anything, because at half time at Luton, you can't have the manager of a football club walking off to that kind of atmosphere. I don't think no one worked harder. I don't think no one cares about our club as much as, that's taken over, has been manager, has cared about the club as much as Neil Harris has done. And I think that's shown by the fact that he's decided to walk away. You don't have to look at what the clown done, Ian Holloway done, and he was fired, held on for over a year, so he got his £1 million payoff, then blamed Neil for Mill getting relegated. And although he's come out recently saying that he probably shouldn't have taken the job, it just shows you the comparison of what Neil could have potentially done if he wanted to drag us through the mud. But I think he probably feels like he's taken us as far as he can take us, and he now steps away, leaving the club in a much better position than he did. And like I said, it's hard to be a Millwall manager. There's no doubt about that. People would love the job. Personally, I'd absolutely love to manage Millwall. Obviously, I don't have any kind of skills or knowledge to be able to do that. But yeah, of course, I'd love to manage my club. But it's not an easy job. It's we're not an easy fan base to get on side. Although I would say that once we are on your side, we'll defend you to the death. And it's, people will talk about why football isn't life and death, but never is it as close to when you're a Millwall fan. Passions are displayed. Passions are right on the tip of everyone's tongue. And we need a manager to defend us. We need someone to have our back. And I think for the majority of Neil's tenure as Millwall manager, he has had our back. There are plenty of other managers who would have thrown us to the wolves when we've had different incidents, but he hasn't. He's stuck with us, and we've stuck with him. And I think there's no doubting that you don't become by far the longest manager in the Championship, which he was before he stepped down, without getting your fan base on side. And a lot of managers can learn from that. You look at the Cowley brothers at Huddersfield now. I think that they appreciate that. I think they understand it. There's been quite a few highlights, with Neil as manager, winning at Leeds, the 4-3 comeback, obviously the FA Cup games, and nothing's going to be. For me, I really loved Scunthorpe away. I think that was the real highlight of of Harris's tenureship. 0-0 at home, going away to a tough ground where we haven't notoriously got much, and we absolutely battered them from virtually start to finish. Although we did what Harris's teams have been susceptible of, took a good 3-1 lead and then sat back and only just held out. And I think, we've very rarely been topped under Harris. We obviously went to Fulham, but we've been so tight, so hard to beat for the majority of his time that it only stands us in good stead. We've got good players at this club now. We've got a platform to be able to build on, and that's because of the fact that he's brought in a few of the young players. Aidan's still in the team. Ben Thompson's obviously gone away to Portsmouth and come back and been playing and is a massive difference. And I don't think that, there's been talk that Harris has lost the dressing room. No, I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't believe Harris has lost that dressing room. Those players, you could tell at half time, they come out and played for him. And I don't think, in most of the games that I can remember, I don't ever remember the team not playing for him. You can argue that his tactics haven't been great at times. You can argue that he's made mistakes, but you'll do well to find a manager that doesn't. But overall, I'm proud of the time that he's been in charge. I've been proud of our club, and you can't often say that. Like I said, you look beforehand with Ian Holloway and Steve Lomas, and yeah, we had Kenny Jackett for a while, and even that turned sour. But those two, Lomas and Holloway, proper clowns, and we've got to be careful that we don't do that again. I hope, someone said what was my big highlight with Neil Harris. Well, I actually shared a picture of him and played with him in a manager's game, and I'm not going to lie, the guy's he's a hero to me. Formative years, watching the team and him being there, and then him having the cancer that he had, and I felt like it was a family member, and I'm sure many of you did that. But he bounced back, and to then be the record goal scorer and then come in management. Really, you've only got one way to go. You can only go one way, really, and he's managed to keep his legendary status, and I don't say that lightly. And I've put on Twitter at Millwall TT, if you don't follow me on Twitter, but I put on Twitter that you look at the legends of our club, the actual legends. And for me, it's Harry Cripps, it's Barry Kitchener, it's Keith Rhino-Stevens, and it's Neil Harris. And we've had some great players play for us. We've had King and Stepney and Cascarino and Sheringham and Cahill. But for me, those are the four legends of our club. And it's important that now we can go back to giving him the respect that he deserves and letting him, hopefully, he goes on and stays in football, and I'm sure he will. There's been talk about the Southend job and what a great fit that would be for him personally, as obviously he lives in Essex. But then who are we going to get? Who are we going to get in? There's apparently the odds have massively dropped for Kevin Muscat, the Australian nut job. Do we need someone as mental as him in our dugout when we're as mental in the stands? Maybe, he's done well in Australia in the start of his career. Chris Hughton is another person that's been banded around, and personally I'd like Chris Hughton. I think he's very successful at this level. I don't know whether he'd want to come to us. That's maybe he's too big of a name to come to us, and that's something people have got to be careful of. People have commented about getting rid of Neil, but who do we get in? And this is going to be the big time for JB to step up. He might have to put his money in his pocket. Hopefully we can get Huskies chocolate money, because I know that they want to put money into the club, and that's a big revenue stream that we could potentially use and build, because there's no reason why we can't. We've got a decent ground, we've got electric support, and if we can get on a run, we can get ourselves up the table. Maybe we'll have to stabilise this year and see what happens, but we've got it in the team. I do want you to put your questions in below. I know most of the things I've been reading on social media is that they're kind of half glad that he's gone, and because it's the right time, and it probably is. You look at the away record that we've had between August and December for the last 4 years, the last 3 years, we haven't won a game away from home, and and we've conceded a bucket load, and I think we've drawn 9 out of about 35 games. That's not a record you want to be holding on to. But then, like I said, the Den's become a fortress. It was like it at the old Den, and it's now like it again. And we've got it back. You know, the Den. You know, even looking at the games we've had, other than the QPR one, where I think there was a little bit of a drop in atmosphere. But the 1-0 wins against Sheffield Wednesday and the 1-0 win against Preston at the start of the season, there's a real buzz in our home stadium now, and we've got to keep that going. And whoever comes in needs to make the most of the fact that we're a special football club, and to manage our football club the way that it has been managed is something special. And I want to go on record to say, Neil Harris, thank you for what you've done for my club. I wish you best for the future. But our club will live on, and you've helped it do that. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you don't. You are subscribers if you're watching this, because this is not after a game. Thanks for watching.